кто-то это видит. Да. Сразу подозрительно.
Hi everyone, my name is Hubert, I'm a developer for SCP Secret Laboratory, and in this video I'll be talking to you about what we have planned for the year 2026. It's been quite a while since we've done
Чьи работает?
one of these, but we believe it's time we give an update on our future plans for the next major release, 15.0, which will include
Что делать? Блин, я не знаю. Что-то наушники сломались. Так. А,
two of the most requested features by the community. A new playable SCP
Ну,
and a surface zone overhaul.
просто объект.
We've always had
Я понял. Я понял. Только вот как это решить, это непонятно. Так. Так.
ambitious goals for SCP-SL, but for the longest time we've been limited with
Странно. Стоп, 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 стоп.
mimicry and refracted reality have primarily focused
Сейчас я могу чего выбрать. Так. Ты поначалу привязался к моим наушникам. Слушай, послушай. Ага. О, вот, нормально.
on refactoring, which basically means
Так.
we've rewritten most of the game.
Ты может отцепиться от моих наушников. Какую студию ты что делаешь?
And now with 14.
Так, может, стоп. А можно было так сделать все это время? Реально?
We've made it possible to finally add the feature that has been waiting for years. Now, there's still a few smaller features that we could release as a theoretical 14.3, but
Наконец-то! Это просто жесть. Я настроила этот OBS студию. Короче, я так понимаю, у нас тут люди есть. Вот. Вот. Один зритель. Вот, мы начинаем как бы. Так, стоп. Это чуть-чуть мы делаем. Все, давайте посмотрим. Ну, я, конечно, вот это смотрела, версию 15.0, на все разработки. Я вот знаю, что там будет 30 мегабайт, но давайте вместе с вами посмотрим. Еще раз посмотрим, может, я что-то упустил, может, я что-то забыл. Что еще хочу сказать? Всех поздравляю со 100 подписчиками. Я даже, пока это все настраивал, видел, что у нас их вообще даже 102. Так что спасибо, что вы подписались. Вот. Так, ну давайте посмотрим, что у нас по разработкам. Так, еще.
Hi everyone, my name is Hubert, I'm a developer for SCP Secret Laboratory, and in this video I'll be talking to you about what we have planned for the year 2026. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these.
Так, что? Я что-то все пропустил. Нет, просто очень громко что-то все. Сейчас. Крутейшая заставка, вот эта вот страшная, которая... Кстати, я вот смотрела, ну, буквально, когда 15 минут там, ну, несколько минут было, а тут еще даже 200 не было, а сейчас их даже 922 лайка. Давайте посмотрим, вот. Ну, говорят, это Хьюберт. Что ни секунда, то не приключение. Оказывается, вам не слышно ничего. Так, может, чуть погромче сделаем? То слышно?
But for the longest time we've been limited with what we can do by the old code that has been introduced in the early years of development. In order to solve that problem, updates such as
Так,
parabellum,
ребята, простите
mimicry,
за
and
небольшое...
refracted reality have primarily focused on
неплохо было.
refactoring, which for the longest time we've been limited with what we can do by the old code. That has been introduced in the early years of development. In order to solve that problem, updates such as introduced cell, but for the longest time we've been
Всегда были амбициозные цели для
limited with what we
SCP,
can
но
do
долгое
by the
время
old
они были
code that has
ограничены.
been introduced in the early years of development. In order
Короче, у
to
них там
solve
было
that
что-то
problem,
ограничено все.
updates such as parabellum, mimicry, and refracted reality have primarily focused on refactoring, which basically means we've rewritten most of the game. And now, with 14.0, we've made it possible to finally add the features that have been waiting for years. Now, there is still a few smaller features that we could release as a theoretical 14.3, but we've decided to focus all of our resources on 15.0. Smaller patches for bug fixes, optimization, and balance changes will still be released from time to time. However, with 15.0 being the priority, our recent release, 14.2, was likely the last content update in this series. But anyway, 15.0 began its development around mid-2025 after the release of
14.0 началась в середине 2025 года.
14.1. It's been clear that the project will take a long time, so in order to leave the game in a better state, we decided to release an update consisting entirely of the most requested community suggestions, which you know as version 14.2. While it had pushed us back a few months, a considerable amount of work has been made on 15.0 features since then. I should
Значительная работа, короче, была проведена.
also preface this by saying that while this update's development is going smoothly, it still has a long way to go. I'll be showing some work in progress images and videos, but most of them are still rough around the edges and will not reflect the final version that we'll be releasing.
Зона поверхности.
Some of you may remember a post on our Patreon back in 2018 announcing work on a quote-unquote surface zone rework, and admittedly, looking back, we were way out of our depth. Several iterations of grey boxes have been made, many of which ended up being completely scrapped. They all had their pros and cons, and some of them seemed actually quite good, but nothing clicked, and we didn't want to deliver you something that we weren't confident in. Because of this, work on surface zone overhaul was much more difficult than we had imagined, and unfortunately...
Ну, короче, несмотря на то, что улица самая маленькая, фактически зона, ее разработка, наоборот, самая большая.
After many roadblocks, we decided to shelve the project and work on other things to simply gain experience in game development. What changed was 14.0 and its development cycle. The heavy containment overhaul in particular was a true eye-opener for us. Overhauling HCZ was the much-needed playground for developing necessary workflows, and for the first time in a while, we were finally confident enough in our skills to return to the Surface Zone project.
Ну, короче, они наскилились вот после 14.0, ну, точнее, для 14.0, вот и сейчас, типа, они решили делать улицу. Вот, кстати, отрывок из трейлера.
Okay, so I've just started my stream. Hello, everyone. Okay, so we still have only 6 people connected, but we're still waiting.
The last time we added a new playable was in version 7.0, nearly 8 years ago, and that was SCP-939. For all intents and purposes, I'm not counting...
Надеюсь, вам видно субтитры, потому что мне лень все перечитывать.
3114, since that's an event SCP...
Что это за звук?
9. For all intents and purposes, I'm not counting 3114 since that's an event SCP, same as flamingos, so they don't really count. But anyway, adding new roles to the game used to be a technological nightmare, and to be honest, we weren't even happy with how the existing SCPs behaved either.
Короче, предлагаемый игровой процесс был монотонным или вызывающим разочарование.
gameplay they offered was monotone at best and frustrating at worst, and we prioritized bringing the existing crew up to a higher standard before we pursue any new additions.
Ну, короче, они нанимали новых людей.
As some of you familiar with game dev can understand, sometimes plans and vision change, and as we recruit more people in the team, they bring new, fresh ideas.
Так, чё? Скажи. Ну, нормально, короче.
Yes. So after a while, we decided that we'll pause the campaign of constant SCP reworks and finally work on a new playable. And for a simple reason. We wanted something new. And so did you. With all that out of the
какая-то простая причина, мы хотели чего-то нового, и вы тоже. После того, как это все
way,
было
the game design team began work on selecting the new playable
команда разработчиков игры приступила к выбору нового играбельного SCP, что само по себе оказалось непростой
which
задачей.
in itself was a difficult task. Many design documents were written for several SCPs ranging from Series 1 all the way to Series 5. A lot of them had to be cut because of various problems. One of our weaker candidates, SCP-250,
У них различные проблемы.
was a dinosaur skeleton with the role of a frontline charger, like 096. The concept hasn't made it through the prototyping phase, mostly due to...
Кстати, я что-то не заметила, тут есть, оказывается, русская радиодорожка. А реально? Не, ну, вообще-то я знаю, тут чуть-чуть кривой перевод, ну, в смысле, режущий уши.
Одном из технических трудностей. Узкие коридоры и двери представляют собой проблему для любых ролей, использующих большие модели. Движение казалось искусственно ограниченным, а перелистывание геометрии было неуправляемым. После, казалось бы, бесконечного цикла доработок и возвращения к исходной точке, мы наконец-то нашли то, что искали.
Продолжение,
Сида-2 — это загадочный объект даже для других членов фонда, поэтому мы...
Не, ну, мне хочется голос Хильберта, так что, простите, я вам буду переводить.
изобразили его через суровую...
Не понял. А, я субтитры английские, блин, сделал. Блин. Вот, все.
environment we've built.
Мы изобразили это через суровую среду, которую создали.
While most other foundation sites can be found within population...
Не, ну а вот я сейчас... А тоже смотрела, я знаю, что там не
centers
копать
disguised as mundane buildings, Site-02 is located at a lonely, isolated point in the Arctic. It's supposed to look like an unassuming research facility, probably studying rapidly changing hostile climate or ecosystems. The surface signs are written in both English and Inuit for the local workers who make the occasional supply deliveries, unaware of what goes deep underground. The road to get there was long, but we're happy with the final iteration that we have landed on. The layout of the map is for the most part complete. However, the art team is still hard at work on transforming the grey box into a lived-in and immersive environment, making new props, textures, and landscapes to fill up the world space. We've also been working on some technologies in order to make the surface zone development more manageable, such as procedurally generating structures like walls, some new snow decals, and experiments on possible heavy weather effects. But rest assured, while we are making the surface zone look as impressive as possible, we are also prioritizing optimization over all else, making sure all of you can enjoy it without an issue. We try to periodically share early work in progress showcases of the arts team work on our Patreon, so if you would like to support the development, you can gain early access to our posts for just $5 a month. While the art team is cooking on the visual side, the level design team is ensuring that the map itself plays well. In order to achieve that, we've taken notes from Iterative Design Playbook, and we often do internal staff testing to make sure everything is on track. Now I know you're probably curious about how the layout looks, so let me stop yapping and let you watch this quick tour of the grey box.
Знаете, я, конечно, это все видел. Я вот второй раз, получается, в этот девлог смотрю, но что-то так неинтересно. Кстати, 953 до сих пор.
SCP-3114, the skeleton, was hugely popular as a new playable SCP. However, it suffered from some fundamental flaws with its design. 3114 poses many challenges design-wise, and whatever we came up with, it always felt impossible to get around them. For starters, the article is quite limiting in what we can do. It's just a skeleton that wants to fit in by wearing the skin of people. Outside of its disguise, it doesn't really pose much of a threat, something that we can't easily solve without making the character feel artificial. Another pressing problem is that 3114 is too reliant on corpses, which not only hinders 049, but also makes the core mechanic very limited. Play on a team composed of 106, 049, and 3114, and you'll get what I mean. And more importantly, 3114 being a goofy walking skeleton doesn't really fit the tone of the game for a permanent SCP. And while we are happy to keep it in the game, because admittedly it is pretty fun for modded servers and events, but we no longer want it included in the main SCP roster. This is where SCP-953 comes in. Despite the issues I just stated, SCP-3114 did provide something interesting with its disguise mechanic.
Oh my fucking god! Hey, pick up his gun! Pick up his gun! Pick up his gun! Pick up his gun and shoot him!
Let's see. Ah! Grab my gun! Grab my gun! Shoot him! Grab my gun and shoot him!
It fits SCP-SL's identity as a social game. We wanted to transfer that mechanic to another SCP, and it was decided that 953 would be the best fit for that role. Unlike the Bag of Bones, 953 is a reality bender. This means that she can disguise herself not by physically stealing skin, but rather by manipulating her own form using polymorphic abilities. She also possesses mind-altering powers that affect how people perceive her, which has the potential to introduce many...
Сколько тут хвостов? Раз, два, три, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 хвостов.
interesting abilities to her kit. Also, thanks to her mind...
Хотя должно быть 9. А, кстати, они решили предпочесть такой вот призрачный вариант.
During abilities, 953 is able to trick humans quite easily while disguised. As such, she's able to pretend to fire and reload weapons, and pretend to use items such as medkits without actually consuming them. 953 has an inherent dislike towards human technology, so she wouldn't resort to actually using the gun for killing. She will, however, use her magic to kill. SCP-953's psychic abilities and physical strength make her a force to reckon with, even while she is not disguised as a human, equipped to deal with both crowds and single targets. Besides disguising itself as a human, 953 also has an option to morph into other SCPs, adopting some of their abilities for her own benefit. SCP-953 has been designed around the default state of being in disguise, where she will need to gain a resource called Essence in order to undisguise and attack players. She will need to gain a... SCP-953 has been designed around...
Некоторые из их способностей для собственных, потому что SCP,
the default state of being in disguise.
В состоянии маскировки и потребуется добыть ресурс, называемый эссенцией, чтобы снять маскировку. Так, очень интересно.
Where she will need to gain a resource called Essence in order to undisguise and attack players benefit. SCP-953 is called Essence in order to undisguise and attack players. There will be different
разные способы получить эссенцию, например, находясь рядом с людьми.
ways for her to gain essence, such as being near humans while disguised.
Задача не обратить внимание в маскировке, но я бы хотела подробнее рассказать об этом в будущем, когда у нас будет больше информации. Вот, кстати, модельки. Ну, это хвост, про который я говорил.
If you've been following our Deepwell ARG, 953 has been one of our most detailed backstories in Secret Lab, something we're currently experimenting with showing off in-game. It honors the many depictions of this SCP found on both the English and Korean branches of the SCP Wiki to create SO's own adaptation that we hope you will enjoy getting to know in-game. SCP-953 is on all accounts an unforgivably evil creature by all human standards. After being viciously experimented on by the cruelty of Site-17, her form has been horrifically changed, and you'll soon meet her within Site-02. If you would like to know more about the story leading up to 953, you can visit the Community Lore Discord where the people will gladly tell you more. After all, they have been the ones to dig through the ARG, and they made the great artwork that you saw earlier. I am beyond happy of the progress the studio has made with 15.0 so far, and despite a few smaller delays, we are still on track with our projected timeline.
Кстати, они придерживаются запланированного графика.
There is still a long way to go in this journey, and I can't wait to share more with you. These are huge
Надеюсь, обнова будет в марте.
undertakings for the development team, and as many of you know, game development takes time. But we'll make sure to keep you all up to date with our progress. Be sure to join our Discord if you haven't already, where you can interact with the community, as well as occasionally speak with some of our developers, including me. If you'd like to support us more, be sure to take a look at our Patreon, where we offer rewards for the community supports us more than you can imagine. Thank you for your continued support over the years, and I can't wait to show you more as we travel the road to 15.0. Oh.
15-летию?
And the name of the update?
15.0, видимо.
It's...
Мегабач 3. Ну, я знал. Кстати, интересно, да?
To 15.0. Oh, and the name of the update? It's...
Мегабач 3. Я, кстати, рад. Безумно рад, что все-таки Мегабач 3 есть, будет. Вот так. Ну, что? Я не знаю, что там предлагает YouTube. Ну, короче, ну, нормально. Пойдет. Ну, что у нас, получается, будет обновленная подзона чумки и 173-го. Дальше у нас будет, ну, получается, новый SCP, переработанная поверхность, ремодели, переделывание комнат. Ну и, в принципе, все. Ладно, всем спасибо за просмотр, за подписки. Наконец-то на 102 подписчика. Я рад. Ну и посмотрите, кстати, тизер 15.0, который я перевел. 112 отметок. Я, кстати, уже готовлю новое видео, где новости про 3 мегапатч. Ну и в принципе все. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Это мой второй вообще-то стрим. Ну и всем пока.